Okay, so when you're doing a urinalysis, you can do urinalysis in test tubes, or you can do urinalysis through using a urinalysis test strip. So let's cover the only one usually they will do in a test tube nowadays might be a test for glucose. So in this first image up here, you'll see that you have 4 different test tubes. So you've added some urine to each test tube, and then you add reagent to each test tube. Now, if the color remains blue, that means you have no glucose in that urine. If it turns green, it means you have trace amounts of glucose. If it turns orange, moderate amount. If it turns red, you have a large amount of sugar or glucose in the urine. And the reason this is so important is because it can signal that you have a possible diabetic condition. So they will often test for glucose in the urine to rule in or out diabetes, or help rule in and out diabetes. This picture right here is showing a urinalysis test strip. So when you go to the doctor and you pee in that little cup, they'll take that cup back in their laboratory and they will dip that test strip in the urine, tap it off, and let it sit for a specified amount of time. And what they're looking for is a change in color. So some test strips only have 4 different test pads, and you'll see the 4 that they usually use here. The glucose, if it remains blue, just like in the test tube, then it's negative. Green means small amounts of sugar. If it goes to a dark orange to burnt red, brown, that means you have a large amount of glucose. Okay, and again, you're going to line up your test strip with that row and see where it most closely fits. So sometimes it's not an exact science. You have to see which color it most closely matches. Then you can see the protein here. So if it stays a light yellow, it's negative. If it goes to a light green, it has trace amounts of protein, and the bluer it gets or the darker it gets, then the more protein you have. If you have a protein in the urine, that could signify that you have some type of kidney disease going on. Okay, pH. pH is testing the acidic or alkalinity of the urine. And again, if you're at this peach color, then you have negative. And then you would line up your test strip and find the color that most closely resembles your test strip, and you just write down the pH. So the thing that, a lot of things that can affect pH would be how much water you drink. So if you are a little bit dehydrated, it's going to affect the pH of the urine. If you have protein in your urine, it will affect the pH of the urine. So it can just clue you into something's not quite right and they need to further investigate. Then this last one on this 4 test strip is blood. If it has this light peach orange color, then it's negative. If you see it turning to a light brown tan, then you have small amounts of blood. And if it goes to a grayish blue up here, you'll see it has large amounts of blood. If you have blood present in the urine, it can signify an infection or kidney stones. Okay, this one is a longer test strip. So a lot of the things that we've talked about in the previous one is true down here, that they're the same colors, but this test strip adds a few more tests. So this leukocyte esterase, this is produced by leukocytes or white blood cells. If you have white blood cells present in the urine, that's signifying that you have a possible infection. We'll skip nitrate because I don't believe y'all have to know the nitrate or nitrite. Again, pH is exactly the same. Protein is the same. Blood, you can see here, This test strip, if you have little dots of that bluish green on there, that could mean trace amounts. And then you see it going from this yellow color over to a very light green color, and then going on to that bluish gray. Specific gravity. So specific gravity is going to be testing how much water you have versus solutes, okay? So it's trying to see the comparison between the two. If you have a blue, then it is right there at the 1.005, and then it's going to steadily go up until you get to this yellow, which is 1.030. So again, you're going to be comparing your test strip to this standard that has to be given to you, okay? And you're going to compare it and see which one it most closely resembles. And for instance, if mine was right here at this army green color, then that would be 1.020 for specific gravity. Then ketones. If you have ketones present in the urine, that could signify that you're in diabetic ketoacidosis. So the ketones, you should see a peach, or almost a skin tone color here. And then if it goes to a light pink, you have a very low amount of ketones. And if it goes to a dark purple, then you have high amount of ketones. And you would just rate this trace 1+, 2+, 3+, or 4+. Okay, which is the same way you would rate proteins, leukocytes. If they're using a test strip for glucose, you would rate it the same way, and bilirubin. Bilirubin, if you have bilirubin in the urine, that would signify that you could have some type of liver issue or liver disease going on. Okay, so again, all you need to be able to do is to determine whether it is positive or negative, and then be able to rate it when you compare it to the test strip that you're given. And you'll have to be given a key to compare it to. There's no way you can memorize all the different colors, okay? So you should have a key that you would compare your test strip with. And that is a urinalysis.